Are you tired of the same old pro wrestling? Then check out the amazing action on Powerslam.tv, the biggest indie pro wrestling channel in the world. Get over 4,000 hours of the best pro wrestling events from over 110 of the biggest names in the industry from over 15 countries around the globe. Get your free trial today at Powerslam.tv.
The following is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network. Don't you want to sound rich?
Welcome to episode 44 of Social Suplex's podcast about AEW with a proclivity for positivity. Welcome to All Things Elite. I'm your host, Floyd Johnson. With me today, we have a special guest for the Under the Weather Tiffany. His name is from the Social Suplex, Mr. Greg Records. How you doing today, Greg?
Pretty good, man. How you doing?
Just fine. You have like that's pretty awesome. Like if you were a producer or a musician, you know, that would just kind of be like, you know, nail on the head there.
Well, I actually have a funny story about that. There is a guy named Greg Records that has a audio store I found online like when I was in high school in '98, and I messaged him like a goofy email like saying like, hey, you better give me back my site, blah 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 blah, like just pretend like, you know, he stole my identity or something, like as a kid because I was being stupid, and I got the most aggressive email back, and I was scared. Like he was talking with lawyers and stuff. I had to hurry up and email him back, be like, no, man, I'm just in high school. I'm just kidding. You know, I didn't mean anything by it. So I've actually run into that before.
That is hilarious. Did he reply back to your reply?
He was just like, oh yeah, okay, cool, man. Like he was just like, because it was a for real business for him. He was a small business owner, so he was like, oh, okay, let's go to war. You know, I was just like 16, so I didn't know what the hell I was doing.
Yeah, I could imagine that. Yeah, you know, you just being silly, thought he'd get a kick out of it, and you read the room wrong.
Yeah, I didn't expect any reply back. I was like, okay, this is a business. They're not going to ever respond to me. And it was just one guy. He was like, oh, I've been doing this since I was a kid. You know, this is my baby. And I was like, I felt bad, but, you know, never did that again.
All right. Well, that's hilarious, actually. Well, Greg, just to let you know, people might wonder why Greg is on this show. Greg, we are in the Social Suplex chat group together. And
yeah, they usually see my articles on the site as Mauserratte.
Yes, he is on the site as Mauserratte, and also he was at Full Gear with me.
Yes, I was. That was awesome.
Yeah, he went to the Full Gear show. We came through, and he got to watch some good AEW wrestling live. He got to see Cody be betrayed.
Yes,
all right,
that was great.
Well, we got to get some business out the way. Just want to start the show by reminding you this episode of All Things Elite is brought to you by Powerslam TV. Powerslam TV, where you get access to over 4,000 hours of content from over 110 of your favorite wrestling brands from countries all around the globe, right onto your laptop and mobile device. If you use the code Social Suplex, you get the first month free. So a reminder for everyone, definitely make sure you're using the Powerslam TV, but just last time I'll do this is that Social Suplex Podcast Network, we migrated from Podbean to Red Circle. That should not affect you at all if you just have the regular Social Suplex Network feed, you would still get All Things Elite on that feed. You should see no problems there. What it does add is that you can go directly to your favorite podcast app, whether it's Google, Apple Podcasts, even YouTube. Throw in All Things Elite, and you will get you can get a direct stream of our show. Every show on the Social Suplex Podcast Network is great, but if you just directly want to use All Things Elite, you will have a direct link to All Things Elite. Also, through Red Circle, they have a donation button. You can click on that. You can kick us money if you want. Anything that you send goes directly back into the show. I've been very clear. I'm not trying to make money off of this. If you do it, it's going to go to better equipment, making the sound quality better. Anything that I can do to make the show better. Maybe get some guest people on the show. Maybe, because some people do charge. It's kind of weird. You can, so that's all that changes, is that you have a direct link, and now you can donate if you would like to. Definitely leave us a review on any of your sites, so whether it's Google, Apple Podcasts. Make sure you leave a review. Let us know what we can do, if we can do it better. Ask any questions you may have. So there you go. That's what, if you leave a review, we'll definitely give you a shout out on the show. All right, that's all the housekeeping. The big news of the week this week on AEW. It's not how we usually start a show, but big news of the week is kind of, it's kind of weird. This week's big news was with Greg. The big news was the women's segment on AEW. I mean, it was a very, for the most part, unpopular segment of the women's. It was for our women's title. It was the challenger Chris Statlander versus the champion Rio. We find out at the match beginning on commentary, we had Miss Brandy Rhodes on commentary with Excalibur, Tony, and Jim Ross. So Greg, without going into too much description, as far as I'm not going to talk about what happened, what did you think of it?
Well, we talked about it back and forth in the group chat, and I think one of the problems I'm having with it is twofold. One, it's been going on since what was it, November or October?
November.
It's been November. It's been going on for a while, and I started out as a fan of New Japan when I met you guys. And so I've had to learn to adapt to slow burn stories. Like we just had Naito and Okada, and what's that, 2 years in the making for that whole story?
Yep.
So I'm okay with slow burn. I could, force myself to endure it. I think the number one problem I have is that I don't know the why, and I don't know the reason for Brandy's decision. It's almost too transparent to me that she just wants to be a heel. She's like, and the reason why I'm being open-minded about it is because she's kind of doing what Matt Hardy did when he went to TNA. Like, she's just doing a bunch of stuff, which is fine, because Matt Hardy eventually ran into the Broken character. That was great. I'm willing to give someone a million chances as long as they eventually get there. I can just tell you right now, I'm not understanding the why, so I don't understand. To me, it's almost like I want to be a bad guy because I want to be a bad guy, and I can't really invest in that because it's just like I know what's going to happen each match, but I don't know why. The other problem I have with it is that I don't want to boo Brandy. Since they started AEW, she's had her show Shots of Brandy. She's been on Being the Elite, and she's been doing all this other stuff that what was it for people that have problems with sensory issues.
Yes.
She's been doing, she's genuinely a good person, and she's been upfront about that. And and this is a me thing. I kind of like kayfabe a lot. I kind of like the wrestlers. I like Moxley's not on Twitter at all. I love that because I love him just being a character. And that's selfish, but I like being a mark. I like not believing that wrestling's real, but I like to kind of like lose myself in it. I like to get angry at the TV, like where I'm like screaming at Kurt Angle to make someone tap. I just really like getting into it. And when I see Brandy on the screen, it's hard to hate her. And she's trying her hardest to be hated. And she, I don't know if you were listening to the commentary, but she was like insulting Excalibur. And it's just, she can do it. Like she's been a great heel manager for Cody. She's been, evil, like getting in the way and pretending like she's hurting and laughing about it. I think she's very talented. And it's just kind of hard for me to to not like her, to boo her. And that can happen to a lot of wrestlers where it's like, okay, we like you though. We're like not being a smart mark, but like, I like her. I don't want to boo her. I want to cheer for her. So that might be a me thing, but the first part is just the why. I don't understand the why, and I think they kind of need to get to like why she's doing it. I mean, Cody even kind of made fun of her in one of his promos. He's like, okay, apparently my wife's cutting off people's hair. I think they could kind of, if they got to the why a little faster, I think more people would be okay with it.
Okay, now let me ask, what more do you need explained about why? Because the only reason I'm going to elaborate on my question really quick before you answer. Like I've been watching wrestling my whole life. I don't remember a time in my life when I didn't watch wrestling. I've said that many times.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like a basic power grab storyline that's always been there. She wants to control the women's division. She is not like an EVP or head of the women's division. So she's come up with an alternate way to control the women's division. She's not good enough to be a wrestler, but she is great on the mic. So she surrounds herself with people that are going to help her take control of the women's division. She then asks Chris Statlander, who she sees as super talented and a threat to her group, to join the group, a la Chris Jericho with Moxley. I almost called him Ambrose again. Moxley. And so when she then turned her down, she is going to do everything that she can to keep her from being successful. To me, that is straightforward. Am I, and I'm giving you to tell me, am I filling in the holes of the story, or that? And I'm serious. I want you to answer it. This is not rhetorical. Am I filling in the holes of the story, or am I oversimplifying the angle?
No, that was a good explanation, because I think that's kind of also been like my frustration is the why. I was kind of like, well, what's going on with this group of characters? Because I think it's not a rebuttal, but like Chris is the champion, Chris Jericho. They don't really have, besides Kong, Melanie's going to wrestle at Bash at the Beach. They haven't really had an actual person in the number one contender area. And I think that's why I was confused, is because it was kind of like a bunch of just miscellaneous people. And they were and Kong was there, but Kong hasn't, even though she kind of should be in the title contention, because she hasn't lost. Not since she's had like that 4-way, and she didn't even lose directly, I don't believe. Someone else took the fall. So I think it would make more sense if they were like in that contention. Like they kind of seem like they're kind of like just bubbling at the bottom.
Yeah.
And
I feel like she needs that Inner Circle promo, where basically Jericho basically said what everyone's role in the Inner Circle was.
Yes.
And it's just like you don't really understand like what roles there are. But I know Brandy was one of the first fixes they made from AEW. It was like, even though she won her only match, they were like, you're not good enough, so you're not going to wrestle anymore. And I might be putting words in their mouth, but because I love Brandy, don't get me with the ground. She's one of those people I can honestly say kind of worship the ground that she walks on. But I am a realistic wrestling fan. I have eyes, so
I think you're right that people say that, but I think people are also unfair, because like a lot of wrestlers that are great have been wrestling for like 20 years.
Yeah, she hasn't
straight.
Yeah, she hasn't been wrestling that long.
And she's gotten better. Like, were you watching NXT when Ava Marie went down for a little bit?
Yeah.
Like, when she first got on her mic, she got booed so much, and she actually looked visibly uncomfortable, like she was about to cry. Like, she actually looked like she was not having a good time. I got behind her because of that, because I was like, okay, I feel bad for this. Even though she was a bad guy, I was kind of rooting for her behind, like, behind that, hoping she got better. And she did get better. She never got good, but she did get better. And wrestling's hard. Some people are naturally gifted, like Osprey, but some people take like 10 years before they start getting getting it down. And Brandy is like, yeah, she wasn't great, but I've seen worse, and she was getting better. I feel like she is great on the mic, and I think they could have given her more shots. But if they're going to go down this route, like what you're saying, like explaining the why, that's kind of been like what exactly everyone's role is. That's what's been frustrating to me, is because I'm like, I didn't understand. Because at first they started with like just like a voodoo gimmick, and then they were cutting people's hairs off. I didn't know if they were going for like a voodoo doll or something, and now it's just a faction, which probably makes more sense. But like what you said, if they kind of just explained why they're doing it and what everyone's role is, like we know what Kong's doing; she's the enforcer. But I didn't know if they were gonna. I kind of want to know who they're gonna push to be champion. Like Statlander, they were going for her, but now she rejected. They kind of need someone to fight Statlander. And I'm not sure, besides Kong, who that's going to be. And I don't think they're going to push Kong like that.
I think they are. I truly do. I think they're going to push Kong. If you ask my opinion, I think the ultimate feud or whatever is Kong versus Chris for the title. I think Kong's going to beat Rio.
I want Nyla versus Kong.
Yeah, and then, of course, Nyla versus Kong will happen. But I think Kong is on... And it is on Glow. She is a crossover name. You know what I mean? Most people at least know her from that. She is comfortable doing interviews and things like that. If you're looking for a face of the division, something that casuals would know, Awesome Kong is a perfect person to do that. And if you want to use her somewhat casual fame to get someone that's not over, you do that. You use her to get Chris Statlander over. With the result of the match, we haven't really said it, was the Nightmare Collective got heavily involved in the match. And then there wasn't a clean finish. Rio rolled up Chris Statlander. Now, I definitely have a few tweets out there. One is from Mr. Jeremy Donovan from the Social Suplex, and I wanted to see what you thought about this, if you had any thoughts. He says, I get AEW doesn't want to do DQs, but come on. There's blatant interference throughout the match. Makes the ref look like he has no authority. At this point, they should just say there's no DQs in AEW matches. What do you think about that statement? What do you think and how it goes with this?
Weren't they doing a gimmick where the refs kind of were messing up? Wasn't that like a real gimmick they were doing for a little bit?
It was a real gimmick.
Yeah, there was a lot of interference, but did the ref see any of it? I wasn't paying that much attention to what the ref was looking at. If the ref saw it, yeah, I get it.
The refs saw them around the ring. I don't think they saw, like when Rio got through into the guardrail, I think the ref was looking a different way. And I don't think they saw when Chris got attacked. But when she got distracted and Rio got the pin, it was clear that they were distracting her. And it's just, yeah, I guess you could have went with an EQ. But I've seen more happen in more matches in different companies that I didn't think it was that big a deal.
It was busy. It was a busy finish. There was a lot going on outside, but I'm also not sure if they're they're kind of back and forth if they want to do the New Japan thing, where if anything outside the ring is kind of like, all right, the ref has no jurisdiction. I'm not sure if they're going for that either, but they could, and they are taking a lot from New Japan. with how they do things. So they could write it off like that if they decide to. But I don't think they're done with the refs are terrible gimmick. And it that crosses into like MMA too. Like if you want to win, you can't count on refs or judges. You gotta put them away. It was too busy for me, but
and this is the whole thing. I know Chris Statlander's over, but
yeah.
she hasn't been wrestling a long time, right? Maybe they don't want to put the pressure of being the champion on her yet. On a major,
it would be fast.
Major TV, and that's the big thing is people the whole idea of building characters, taking a while to create them, getting the crowd to the point of desperation of wanting them to be champion, and then giving them the title is like very old school wrestling. And my whole thing is we live in such a now type of area that just, it might not be time yet, but it's directly answering Jeremy's quote. I would like more clarification. I'm not sitting there, I'm not talking about a minute segment, but there are great ways that let the announcer weave in what the rules of AEW are. But I do think it's unfair that people are taking rules from other companies and trying to apply them to AEW when AEW is currently building their universe. You know what I mean? They're building what they think wrestling is, and not every rule that you've seen in WWE or whatever is going to necessarily apply to AEW.
Yeah, and playing devil's advocate, like when I started watching New Japan, like you got to kind of forget the rules of previous promotions. You gotta the first thing you do is like, okay, this guy's kind of like this guy, and this guy's kind of like that guy, and then you're never right because everyone's unique. So you kind of have to like take other promotions out and just, okay, this is different. Yes, I agree with you. They could be more clear, and the announcer should be weaving in like the rules, and I would like concrete rules. I think a lot of people were just upset for different reasons. Like I clearly was upset because I was confused. I'm, not sure where I land on the Nightmare Collective yet, and I was just frustrated with like all the shenanigans they were doing, and like, they're just constantly doing things, and I want them to tell me why. Jeremy was upset with the unclearness about the rules. I think a lot of people, and some people were upset about the nonsense about them not delivering like on a title match, which is, if they actually want to compare it to WWE constantly does that. I think that's one of the things we've been talking about too in the group chat is how they constantly lie about, their actual card. What's the terminology? What were they saying they did? Where
switch.
Yeah, they do it all the time, and then the one time AEW does it, and not even on purpose, but just because there was a miscommunication. People were, poisoning the well and, saying things in bad faith, like, oh, here they go, like, they're not delivering, they're not giving the fans what they want, and a lot of it's in bad faith. A lot of it is. It's just people picking sides or thinking they have to pick sides. Like, oh, I'm a WWE guy, so I got to pick apart AEW, or I'm an AEW guy, I got to pick apart NXT.
I always say I am very much an AEW cheerleader, and I am very much, hey, your TV should be on AEW Wednesday nights at 7. But I don't think NXT is a lesser product. And, I don't. I think it's one of the next to in New Japan of the promotions I watch, it's the second best in-ring product. I think the in-ring product in NXT currently is better than the in-ring product at AEW on a week-to-week basis.
We were talking about you were saying NXT you think it's really good. You don't hate on it. You're not picking a side, and I agree with you. I just there's a lot of people that are disingenuous with what they're saying about both products, and AEW, they gotta, if you're being objective about it, they are a new company, and there are a bunch of people like Tony Khan's new at this, at wrestling. And he's got to listen to a bunch of wrestlers, and they're picking good talent, but they're going to make mistakes in the beginning. NXT was not perfect when it first started. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
It took a while before it got great. And when it got great, it got great.
So, do you watch football, American football?
I do not, unfortunately.
Okay. Well, back in the late 90s, they added 2 teams, Carolina and Jacksonville. And when you're an expansion football team, what they do is they let you pick a couple players, or they make a pool of players that basically other teams don't want, and you have to pick from them, and then you do the best to make your team. And generally, when there's an expansion team, it takes a few years for them to get good. Well, that's my biggest comparison for AEW. They're an expansion wrestling promotion. The great thing about them is they had a group of stars, and that was the elite. They're building around that. But the other people that they're assigning, while they are good wrestlers, they weren't signed with major companies. You know what I mean? And like for their women's division, again, really think there's a lot of potential there, but they weren't stars. You know what I mean? This is not Tessa Blanchard. This is not the Charlottes. These are not the people that have been wrestling for years on a huge stage. You know what I mean? These are people that are some 2-3 years into their career. You know, and if they are a little longer in their career, they didn't really have that major outlet. You know what I mean? So it's just they're building around a lot of green talent. Like Awesome Kong is different. But she is the veteran that is probably past her prime at this point. That another team didn't want. You know what I mean? She's past her prime. They brought her in. That's great. That gives some name recognition. Rio, no one in America knew who she was before she came over here. Now, my thing with Rio is this. This is weird. Because I saw a lot of people saying they wanted a new champion and Chris Statlander and all that stuff. And I was like, why is it time for a new champion? And then they just said, I just think it's time. So, of course, I put out a poll. Do you like Rio's women's champion? Which I literally thought, with me running an All Things Elite Twitter account, this was going to be a complete blowout. It was only 51% yes.
Well, I think I have a few ideas on why that is.
Why is that? Yeah, that's what we're here for. We're breaking down the women's division.
Well, I think it's 2 things. I think the number one thing is one of the most fair and one of the most objective statements is Rio hasn't been seen as much as she probably could be. She's been in Japan a few times, which is understandable, and I would like to see more of her too. I like Rio. She's great underdog. She every time she wins, like she gets the crap kicked out of her, and she manages to roll someone up like in a legitimate sunset flip or something, and it's great to watch. And she's a great wrestler. The other thing I think that happened is people really got behind Chris Statlander, and I'm not being negative, but I didn't. She's good, but I think people got hyped up by her because she had like a really good match, and she did. But then we're talking about the match. I wasn't very impressed by it, like when she had against Rio. And maybe I'm out of line. Maybe I need to get my eye checked. But it was all right. And there were some points where it was a little kind of they weren't on the same page, and that could happen even to great wrestlers. But when you were asking earlier if Chris Statlander should have the belt, I don't think it's time. I think she could, and especially with the way they book. They like to book with a slow burn. Build people up and give them an actual a series of obstacles to overcome before they finally, climb that mountain. So I think it was too early, but I think a lot of people got hyped up by Chris Statlander, and they were just like really into her because she had that one good match, which has happened, and that's good. But no, I don't think it was time. But I think it's a combination of people being upset that Rio hasn't been on TV as much. I think Britt's been on TV more than she has, and people just really getting behind Chris.
Yeah, and that was the whole thing, and that happens with a lot of wrestlers. It happened with Roman Reigns. It happens when wrestlers get hot, everybody's like, put the title on them right now. And
Yes.
then the thing about it is you have to do what's best for the story. You can't just shotgun somebody to champion. Otherwise, Luchasaurus would probably be the AEW champion right now.
And there's some promotions that do that, and then they end up paying for it because it becomes like a hot potato of titles. Like, I love New Japan, but sometimes they treat their never title like that, and it's just like, stop, just let someone build it up. And that's a frustration I have of like, and that's one of my. I'm definitely defend New Japan. I love New Japan. It's one of my favorites. But there's sometimes they treat their titles, some of their lesser titles, as just hot potato titles. Like, okay, we want to push this guy, put a belt on him. And if you're a fan of WWE, you should know that doesn't actually make someone. You have the person makes the belt, not the opposite way around. And I think if they gave Chris the belt right away, it would kind of, in my opinion, and maybe I'm wrong, but I think that kind of devalues the title. The title should be something that's just sacred. Like, it's like a holy grail. Like, when you get it, you've earned it. Not just because you're popular, but because you beat everybody.
Yeah, being the champion to me should be the culmination of a story, right? It's like you put the title on Luchasaurus, or you put the title on Scorpio Sky when everybody was behind him for a second. The question isn't that you put the title on him. The question is, what's next? Who do they feud with? What story are you trying to tell with them as the champion? And like I say, like with Luchasaurus, I use him as an example because after Double or Nothing, the first Double or Nothing, he was really, really hot, and everybody was like, push this guy to the moon. And it was like, well, it doesn't align with the story. That is quick if you're trying to get a pop and draw a little money, but if you're trying to tell a continuously long story as you're trying to build your company, you can't make those reactionary decisions. I think WCW did that a lot. I remember when they put the title on Goldberg, and the question was, once Goldberg became champion and he's unbeatable, what do you do after that? Then you end up with cattle prod and finger poke of doom, because you know what? They didn't have a plan for after Goldberg. They didn't have a plan for after they give him, he's reached his goal. What do you do now?
Yeah, once you reach the top, sometimes and I can't think of a specific example, but I know a lot of promotions, they'll put a belt on someone real quick, and then the only way they can go from there is down. You've reached the top. What else is left for you? Like, I think, and I'm not sure if I'm misremembering that Paige won the title like pretty quick when she was in WWE, and it's like, well, what else do you do in the women's division? There's no other titles. You lose it and then you go back down. Like, the title, like, sometimes putting it on Jericho, like, people were saying, like, oh, he's too old. Why'd they put it on him? It's a perfect spot because he's got legitimacy. And, like, yeah, he's getting older, but, like, we need the other wrestlers to fight to beat him.
Yeah. Whoever beats Jericho is going to be super over. You know what I mean?
They're the man.
Yeah, they're going to be the man, even if it is Kenny Omega or Moxley, which I don't think it should be Moxley personally.
I think it might be, because then Kenny has to beat Mox.
I don't think it should be Mox because he doesn't need the rub. He doesn't need that.
He doesn't.
I think it should be someone that needs it. Kenny Omega, to some American audience, and I'm not talking about the diehard elite fans, I'm talking about to the new fans, is kind of an unknown commodity. He really needs the win over Jericho.
Well, now he does, yeah, because he's lost to Pac, Mox, and Jericho.
Yeah, so he's lost to everybody. You know what I mean? This is just like. But I told Nikki I was going to put this on here. She says she was Nikki, one of our loyal listeners. She was in the arena, and she says, I have to say this. I was sitting in a row full of black folks who popped for everybody black because that's what we for the culture. When the Nightmare Collective came out, it went from guys popping for Brandy, looking fine, she was looking right, to being completely silent. The Nightmare Collective segment took what was a good women's match that people were enjoying and ended up confusing the live crowd. Then folks popped at the end when the faces fall back. Nobody really fucking with the Nightmare Collective, not even the black fans. Now, I wanted to put this out there because this Nikki, I consider her, she's a real fan. She's a very even-minded wrestling fan. She generally doesn't go too far right or too far left. She's a very even-minded person. And she's like, man, the Nightmare Collective's not over. And for me, someone who's pretty, defending it. I'm not saying, and I want to make my thoughts on this clear. I'm not saying the Nightmare Collective is good. I'm also not saying it's the worst thing I've ever seen on wrestling, like people have tweeted out. I'm saying it just is. It's a basic wrestling storyline from a lower card faction that, doesn't matter. The reason that they're there is to get Chris Statlander over. She is going to dispatch of them and move on at some point. Maybe that's becoming the champion or whatever, but they're there to get her over. So, I heard a lot of people crying about Luther, the Japanese hardcore legend Luther. Now, for those that don't know, he goes by Dr. Luther. He is semi-retired Canadian professional wrestler. Him and Jericho are around the same age. He's from Calgary. They've known each other forever. It looks like, if I'm doing the numbers, they were either trained at the dungeon at the same time or around the same time. So they're familiar with each other. So, Jericho hooked up his friend with a minor role in a faction. Why is that? Why do you think people find that such a big deal? I'm asking you because I do know you are more in the middle. You know what? You just like wrestling. So I really want your objective opinion.
Well, I didn't know all that about Luther, and it would have been nice if the announcers went into a little bit about him. See, that's kind of one of the things I was confused about, because I didn't know what he would do, because you can't really have him hitting the women, because they don't do intergender yet. They might do it with Omega and Riho and Kip Sabian and Penelope Ford. But I guess I was kind of confused. He's kind of a strange... Because I remember when she came out, she was talking about how she's going to fix a lot of different things. She wasn't even mentioning... we're talking about Brandy. When she came in, she said she was going to fix a lot of the problems when she was doing her heel speech about a lot of things in AEW. And I took that, and maybe I interpreted it wrong. Like, she was talking about the men's division as well. So when I saw Luther come out, I was like, oh, is this going to be kind of like an inner circle thing where, a bunch of people start coming out and they're taking over, the tag division? They're taking over, I thought the Nightmare Collective would become a kind of like a Dark Order thing, where it encompasses everything, kind of like a Hail Hybrid from, or Hail Hydra from, Captain America. You know what I mean? So and that's one of my problems with the Whys is I guess when you have a story TV show where the villains are in the background doing stuff, but you kind of don't find out what they're actually doing till the end of the season, it better be really good, because you kind of made people wait a while. I'm not sure what they're doing with Luther. I'm not sure what they can do if he's retired.
He's just more I think he's more like a Brandy bodyguard type person. He's a minion, a servant of Brandy. Brandy is the general. Kong is her head soldier. She's the soldier on the shoulder. Mel is the front line. She goes in front of Kong, and then Kong puts the people down. That's how I see it. But like I said, I might be using more my advanced understanding of wrestling storytelling to fill in holes that aren't being filled in by the announce team. And honestly, that's what I feel like after talking to you, is that I'm filling in the holes for them, and we need the announcers to be filling in these holes.
Yeah, because she's been doing a lot of Bray Wyatt kind of potential. There's potential in this. No matter what anyone says, if someone says there's no potential in this faction, they're not really, either they're not paying attention or they're just being disingenuous. There's potential. Brandy, like I said, she could actually take over the whole company with a faction that has these type of members in it. But I need to know what I'm getting invested in at this point, because it's been since you said November. and Chris wasn't even a member on the roster then. So like it seems like what were they doing then? I think I just need to know, as a fan, I need to know. Wrestling shouldn't be too complicated. I need to know what they're doing and why. They got the Chris Statlander thing happening now, but what happens when they take care of her? Because I don't see her winning the title right away. Who are they gonna? Are they gonna put Kong in the title contention, or are they gonna pick a champion? Or is Bash at the Beach? I think this is something we mentioned. This is going to be Mel's first match. Is she going to be awesome? Because if she's awesome, people are going to get behind her just like they did Chris Statlander. So Bash at the Beach is kind of what I'm waiting for. If she comes out and is so-so, it'll be whatever. It's not the end of the world. If she comes out and is awesome, though, and she's their champion that they choose to push, or she becomes like in the title contention, that's something. Like we gotta, as much as I'm having a problem with the why, and I am frustrated with the timeline, how long it's taking, I have to wait until Bash at the Beach before I make any decision, if I even do make a determination, because I probably will still give them more time. I'm gonna give Brandy as many chances as Matt Hardy got. I'm not even joking about that. When he went to TNA, he was kind of doing a bunch of dumb stuff until he found broken Matt Hardy. I'll give her like a ton of chances.
Hey, but you know what? You're in a very, from what I've observed, and Rich Latta talks about this on One Nation Radio, you are in a very minority. It seems like people want to hate Brandy Rhodes if she's not in the role that they want her to be in. The only role that it seems like most people want her to be in is Cody's valet. That's the only thing they think she's good enough for. Because anytime she wrestles, cuts a promo on her own, or tries to do anything on their own, the internet pretty much goes crappy. And it's like, you know, it's the whole idea of you don't deserve your role. You know, that imaginary thing that people in this world only get what they deserve. You know what I mean? Brandy has worked very, very hard. She's been in the wrestling business a long time. Now, some people, because her name, now she carries the name of Rose, that seems to put a target on her back when she does anything not involving Cody. Like, when they made her chief brand officer, even though that went along with her degree, people went shitty because of that. When they announced that she was going to wrestle a match, people went shitty because of that. When she did the Nightmare Collective, that was the hell with a backlash. It's just like people have this unfortunate disdain for Brandy. Me and you and Tiffany, or one of our other co-hosts, and of course Amy also, because Amy's the most positive person in the universe. We all are like, okay, we'll give Brandy a chance because she wasn't really an on-screen character in the WWE. I mean,
No.
Honestly, her actual wrestling performing career is very, very short. So finding a role that she's comfortable in, because obviously she can talk, obviously she can perform, but finding a role that she's comfortable in outside of being Cody's valet may take two, three, maybe 5 chances. It pretty much, think of how many different characters the Undertaker went through before he became the Undertaker. Think of, to a lesser extent, Kane, then Diesel, Kevin Nash. They all had like 9 different characters before they finally landed on the character that ended up making them famous, or the role that made them famous. And it's like Brandy's kind of going through her thing right now, but people, unfortunately, she's going through it on national TV, and we live in a world where everyone believes that their opinion is the best opinion, so everyone's spraying it out there, and a lot of them.
Well, they're wrong. They're wrong because their opinion's not mine. Mine's the most important, obviously.
Exactly. You know, that's how it works. All right. Well, that was that women's segment. If you didn't catch it, Rio did pin Chris Statlander to give her I think that was her second loss in AEW. And yeah, people were not happy with it, but we're going to cover some other stuff because I feel like we could have done the whole show about the AEW women's division and that segment if we wanted to, but there's more to talk about. So this was Being Elite 185. I mean, I'm just gonna run through it real quick. It started with a special appearance by Superhuman, who was standing on a table, and he said something. I honestly don't remember. And Cass come up and did the "Do You gimmick.
Mm-hmm.
And then Superhuman said, "Fuck this. This is for the juggalos and the juggalettes," and jumped through a table. And then sold it, which was weird because, yeah, I don't know why. I don't know why that happened. But, hey, he was a guest on Being the Elite. Superhuman. Huh. Who knew? I wish I could tell 18-year-old Floyd if I just made videos of myself jumping through shit that I'd be famous.
Yeah, you'd have to hurt yourself. Is it worth it?
Dude, back when I was young, I had a pretty high tolerance of pain. Now that I'm 38, I have zero tolerance for pain. Yeah, because I sit behind the desk and answer questions all day. So my tolerance for pain went out.
He's also a juggalo, too.
Yes, which I mean, I know they're fans of ICP, and I know they're a rowdy bunch, and I've heard things like that, but I really don't know what a juggalo is. I know
they're just, fans of ICP, and they wear the makeup and they go to the gathering. I mean, it's just funny to watch a juggalo hurt themselves, though.
Yes.
You'd have to be a juggalo and hurt yourself.
I had a confession. I had an ICP album when I was in high school.
Nice.
Yeah, I was wasn't necessarily a fan, but they were on wrestling, and I pretty much listened to anything wrestling related. So then we got highlights from the AEW New Year's Eve party. One thing I did notice in this was Mox was just kind of in the back, like he did, like away from everybody, not talking to everybody. I thought that was interesting. Then we got Jack Evans challenging the kicker Josh Lambo from the Jacksonville Jaguars, saying that they could replace him and they could do everything better than him. And Helico then kicks like a 40-yard field goal, and then Jack Evans does a bunch of flips. I did not understand the point of this. I guess they just wanted to get, Jacksonville over. Then you saw Orange Cassidy kick a blue tackling dummy and then get knocked down by it, which is hilarious. We got outtakes from Jen Decker and Jurassic Express doing an interview. Leva Bates segment where, again, one of those things, it'll probably make sense later, or it might have just been thrown in there. She steals Jack Evans' pie and then gives him pickles. She steals Marco Stunt's Nintendo Switch and gives him a book. Marco says, "But I can't read."
I love that. They always have like a joke where someone can't read. I think it was Mikey or Avalon couldn't read for a little bit there.
Yes, and then she's sitting down, got the pie, got the Switch, and it looks like she stole Hangman's drink.
I didn't see that.
Yeah,
that's funny.
She had the cut glass that looked just like Hangman's, and she did not like what was in it. Then we get Kip and Penelope going at Omega and Rio. It looks like it's setting up an intergender match eventually. So maybe we get that on Dark and not on Dynamite. I know Tony was really against it. So if they pull it off and he lets them do it, that'd be interesting. I hope they don't go the WWE mixed tag route where the men can't hit women, because otherwise, just don't have the match.
Well, I want to go a step further. I want them to do that, but then the women can't hit the men.
Yes.
Because then it's fair, and then it's kind of like you can have like you can build storylines around that where like the woman hits like Kenny Omega, not even a low blow, but they hit him or trip him when the ref's not looking. You can have you can build around that. Like you have I don't like it when it's double-sided like that, but if you have it so neither gender can hit the other gender, you can build around that pretty well. And that could be, you could have a good story there too.
Yeah, I don't like mixed tag, the whole idea of, to me, because at that point it's just singles wrestling. Because to me, Kenny Omega's better than Kip Sabian. I would just never tag in Rio.
True, I can see that.
Like, he's better than her. Why would you tag? It's like that makes no sense. It was back. The one that got me is when WWE did that mixed match challenge and Asuka couldn't lose. I was like, Miz, why would you ever tag in? Just let Asuka destroy the person.
Well, you can make it so as soon as, like, let's say Kip's losing and he tags in Penelope, then Kenny has to switch.
Yeah,
you could do something like that.
Yeah, that's what, like, I just don't like it. I don't like intergender wrestling. I just, I'm really weird and okay boomerish of me. I just like when men wrestle men and women wrestle women. It's so weird. I know. I'm out of touch.
No, you're fine.
Yeah, no. I tell people that all the time, how out of touch I am, because I just don't like it. Private Party is concerned about Hangman's drinking. They're also kind of pissed that he said to kick his ass. He apologized for saying he would kick their ass, even though he would kick their ass and he could kick their ass. He was just joking. And they said, okay, we get it now, but you were acting like an asshole. And it looked like Hangman didn't like being called an asshole. And then they left and reminded him that it's $12 for the drink. Let me ask, Greg, do you drink?
I don't anymore. I gave up drinking about 2 years ago, but I'll tell you what, man, I love Hangman and Private Party segments. They're so funny to me, like especially when it starts square dancing and singing their song. I think it's hilarious. Yeah. I kind of hope this gimmick, this whole story, I kind of don't want it to end. And I feel like it's going to start ending soon. And it's sad because it's been hilarious to me. I like this Hangman story a lot. He's got a lot of character in this.
Back when you were drinking, did you pay $12 for a drink?
Yes.
Yes, you did. I have done it once, and that was because I didn't know the drink was $12.
I would get like Jaeger bombs and stuff like that, and that usually adds up.
Yeah, I order a Long Island iced tea, my sipping drink of choice, and I was at a place that drinks were a little expensive, and it was $12. I had one drink. I had one drink that night. When they said $12, I was like, "Yep, there you go. I'm gonna sip on this all night."
Yeah, hopefully it was strong.
Yes, it was very, 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 very strong. I can't drink a lot of liquor. I can't really hang with everybody because I don't drink a lot.
Not just $12.
Yeah, $12. Ugh. Yeah, like I can buy me a whole case of Angry Orchard. I
love Angry Orchard.
That's my shit. I drink it a lot. I don't even consider it alcohol, even though it is.
Yeah, it's just juice with alcohol, or like it's cider with alcohol.
So someone is trying to leave the Dark Order, and a mask is left on their porch. They pick it up and shut the door. They are reminded once you're in, there is no out. And that was it for BTE this week. It was an episode. I don't think it was particularly good. I don't think it was bad. It was an episode. Sometimes when you got a weekly show, sometimes you just have shows that are just shows. I don't know.
I thought I enjoyed. First segment was great. I love Hangman and Private Party. Leva Bates was just there. But it wasn't terrible. I mean, anytime someone's like, I can't read for some reason, it tickles me and I laugh. So that's stupid, but I loved it. What was the other segment? Orange Cassidy being jealous of the stationary tackling pylon.
Yes.
He's just jealous it was more cool than he was, or more calm and stoic.
Yes, it shows no emotion.
Got a little jealous.
All right. And then that was it for that. Now we had AEW Dark. AEW Dark review is going to be really quick because there was only 2 matches, and one was a squash match. So Awesome Kong beat Skylar Moore. Skylar Moore looked really good. She, what you noticed about the people when they're doing these segments like that, sometimes they'll bring you on Dark and have you lose, and then in a few weeks you're signed with the company. And Skylar Moore, as recently as last year, had a tryout with the WWE, and she was on the list of people that they wanted to, people that they were looking at signing. So, I mean, she's got matches on YouTube that y'all can check out. Her Twitter is @RealSkylarMoore. I looked her up. I thought she showed promise there, and of course, in a division that needs an infusion of talent, I did not, like, they've added a lot of talent. I think they do need to showcase some more people like Shauna and Big Swole, and I just think, they need to be out there a little bit more. Just you can follow her @RealSkylarMoore, but Kong beat her really quick with her finisher. I forget what it's called, but she landed her on her face and pinned her. Then
it's the Implant Buster.
Implant Buster, yes. They called it something else when she was in Impact, but I don't remember what it was called. And then, but yeah, like I said, to me, she looked impressive. What did you remember her performance at all?
I thought it was good. I mean, it was a squash, like you said. She didn't look uncomfortable. She didn't look like she was moving underwater like some people do.
Yeah, they let her get some offense in, which was pretty cool.
She did good. I mean, I would be for her being added to the division. She's had a good match so far, and other people have gotten more chances. They could use some more people, even if they're just being squashed. But she would be good.
Yeah, if she was on like a dark with Britt Baker and put on like a 10 to 12 minute match, I'd like to see more of her. But I like to say I saw enough that I want to see more. So that's the best I could say about that one.
Mm-hmm.
Then SCU beat TH2 in a 6-man tag. SCU remains undefeated as a trio. Jack Evans takes the SCU later. I thought this was above average trios match. Again, I am one of those people that you really have to impress on a 6-man tag because there's no 6-man tag titles. So I always wonder why 6-man tags happen. So, yeah, it was very entertaining. Like SCU and being undefeated as a trio. If there's no trios titles, what does that mean?
I think it's just a way to kind of like how New Japan has their multi-man matches. I think they're just doing like a New Japan thing where they need to get people momentum. So instead of putting them in a one-on-one or a tag match, they give them a faction match. Because we're going to talk about the match from Jurassic Express versus the Best Friends coming up. So they have good factions. So I'm for it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, it was like I know there's a lot of people out there that aren't really in the 6-man tags, and I thought this was an entertaining one. And SCU won decisively. With them being the tag team champions, they should win decisively. So that was good. That was AEW Dark, and now we're going to go to Dynamite. And I'm just going to clarify. We're going to skip over the women's section because we've already talked about it.
Oh, man.
We'd already talked about it in 40 minutes. I'm just saying. I just wanted to prepare you as we go through this review. When we skip over the women's section, I feel like we've said everything we could really say about that. So it starts with Dave Brown from Memphis Pro Wrestling, broadcasting legend. He was on the announce for the first match, which was a tag team match between Kenny Omega and Hangman Page versus his best friends, the Private Party, in the opening contest. This match was fun. What did you think, sir?
I loved it. This was an awesome match. Private Party, I think this is going to be controversial, but I know the Young Bucks match between them in the tournament gave them a lot of momentum, but I think this might have given them more momentum because even though they lost, they really gave it to Kenny and Hangman, which I think says a lot.
All right. So we did have a little bit of connection issue. It might be picked up, it might not. But he said even though they lost, they felt like he gained a lot from facing Hangman and Kenny. I actually saw reports online that some people didn't like this match. I thought it was a very entertaining match. I think opening tag team matches in AEW are like the best thing ever to me. I think they hit as far as the momentum, it gets the momentum. This was kind of a story match too, because they were talking about showing that Kenny Omega and Hangman weren't on the same page. So we had a couple near misses where they almost hit each other.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the end, they got it together, and they hit a V-trigger buckshot combo on Mr. Isaiah Cassidy.
Yes.
And then
awesome.
Kenny Omega hit the V-trigger for them to get the win. I thought that was a pretty good combo. I did not see it coming, and it was just like, I was like, oh, that was really cool.
I don't know how you could watch that match and not like it. I'm pretty open. I try to be open-minded, but anyone that didn't like that match, I don't understand. It was awesome.
Some people just don't like wrestling anymore. I always say that sometimes it's just like I'll listen to someone and they'll be breaking down wrestling, and I'm like, my only answer is that's pro wrestling. You know what I mean? It's just like that's always been pro wrestling, and if that's the kind of questions you're asking, maybe you don't like pro wrestling because that's been.
Were they making any real points, or were they all just
like, why didn't he just do this? Why didn't they do that? And I'm like, because it's pro wrestling. They don't do that.
Oh, I hate that. I went to I went to the NXT where Authors of Pain fought Undisputed Era the first time, Roddy and O'Reilly. And I was sitting behind a guy was behind me, and he just complained about every single thing a wrestler did, like during the Aleister Black versus Adam Cole match, I think it was. He was just like, oh, why did he kick that chair? What's he doing? Why did he move that thing? And it's like every little thing this guy was complaining about. And there are fans of everything that do that. And you just listen to him, you're like, dude, you don't know what you're talking about. You just want to complain.
Yeah.
Leave.
Yeah. Earlier when we were talking about the women's match, I'm like, when they were talking about them not getting a finish, and I'm like, that's just pro wrestling. I'm like, that's American pro wrestling. Very rarely in pro wrestling do you get a clean finish.
It's hard. I mean, you don't always need a clean finish. It's just some people, if you're complaining about the Private Party, Hangman, and Kenny match, I don't know what you wanted different to happen, because they didn't have Private Party beat them, so you can't complain they're jobbing Kenny or Hangman, or they're giving them a push too soon. You can't say they're burying Private Party. Private Party gave it to them, and they lost to what was it, a One-Wing Angel? You don't kick out of that.
Yep.
I don't see any constructive or legitimate criticism you can have about that match.
Yes. Dave, when I was listening to Dave Meltzer, he just it was a match, and he said Private Party looked green, and I was like, I would tell Dave this: the worst thing you can do, and I've learned this as a wrestling fan a long time ago, is watch a New Japan show and then watch other wrestling. It's going to make you think the other wrestling is shit, especially if it's a New Japan pay-per-view. That's what in-ring performances is what they do. Everything else is it's seriously, it's like going to a 4-star restaurant. It's like going to a 4-star restaurant and then going to Chili's. Chili's is fine.
Yeah. I don't see how they're agreeing at all.
Yeah, like Chili's is fine, but once you have a 4-star restaurant, it makes it look weird. So Brandy joins the commentary for the Chris Statlander match. We already went over that. Oh no, I did skip a part. The TV crew brought us back. We had the bastard Pac, and he had Michael Nakazawa in the Brutalizer.
So Rich was wrong.
Yes, and he had him. It looked like it was continuing from that week where he just shut the door, because you never saw what happened after he shut the door, and now the door's open, and he has Michael Nakazawa in the Brutalizer. Kenny runs back to defend him. Hangman didn't, which I thought was a great little point. Is Hangman just didn't follow Kenny back there, went and had a beer with his fans. It's it drives home the fact that Hangman has said, I am not a part of the Elite anymore. I made it clear, and they're not accepting it. So
Can I ask a question? I don't want to segue too much, but you know how I think it was last week where they all got in the ring and they were trying to get him to go into the ring. He's been clear that he doesn't want to be in the elite. Like at some point, aren't they being jerks? Like if you're hanging out with your friends and you have one friend that's like, hey, I want to go do this other hobby, and they're doing it, and you're kind of like, hey, come do this thing with me, and he says, hey, I told you on Saturdays I do this other thing. You know, he's there. He's probably going to be the heel, but it's kind of like, is he really being a bad guy? He just kind of wants to do his own thing.
Yeah, I think that's why it's like Hangman is short of turning heel. He hasn't turned heel, but when he turns heel, he's going to say it's because they forced him to turn heel.
Yes.
He's like, I tried to gradually walk away. You wouldn't let me.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to definitively walk away. Which
he's going to be a good heel when he turns. I'm going to call it now. I think it's going to be awesome.
I am looking forward to it. I am looking forward to what he does. He's going to feud with Kenny. And I'm like, is Kenny going to beat him? Or is they going to use that to try to get Hangman even more over?
I don't know.
I don't know. We then get so after during the women's confrontation, when they attacked Chris and what is it, Rio, and then Big Swole, Sonny Kiss, and Sheeta came out to the aid of Statlander, who was being insulted. Britt Baker, who was ringside sitting next to Sheeta, didn't move from her seat. So it's funny. I see this a lot with the company. They do a lot of similar storylines. Like what Britt Baker and Hangman are going through are really, really similar. So it's just like, it's something they need to watch out for. Maybe
it's similar, but it's such a basic story, and it's such an understandable story. Like it happening to multiple people. I'm okay with that.
It is, but I would like if they wanted to have someone that's not part of, a wrestler or whatever, that's not part of the actual booking committee, to actually like look at the script and say these two are similar. Maybe switch it up a little bit more, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that wouldn't hurt. It would have helped NWA a little bit.
Yeah.
To re-edit and have more than one person going over it. So I would recommend that for every company.
Just a general idea. Again, I'm a football fan, and on offensive and defensive sides of the ball, they have these things called analysts, offensive analysts and defensive analysts, and basically their job is to break down their own team and tell them like different type of things they're doing to let the other team know that they're what kind of plays they're running or whatever. So it's just like, having that for a wrestling company would be cool. Somebody that kind of goes through the script or the story or whatever and be like, this is wrong, or this is really similar to that one, or why are they doing this? Ask the stupid questions,
I think you're right.
Zach Myers of the band Shinedown was sitting in the crowd. Apparently he's famous. I've never. I think I've heard the band Shinedown. I couldn't have picked Zach Myers out of a lineup. If he was standing behind me at a McDonald's, I wouldn't know who he was. I'm like, all right. So, the Sammy Guevara Boomer Beatdown Tour continues. That's the title that I gave it, as he was wrestling Christopher Daniels. Even though Christopher Daniels is probably not a boomer. I know he's 50, but I'll damn near 50. But I don't know if that's boomer. I'm not really familiar with everything like that. But yes, they had a match. What did you think of the match, sir, before we talk about the ending of it?
I can't even remember it.
Yeah. It was a very unmemorable match. It was just kind of a match. Some people, like I say, I do read reviews of other shows just how I can have some, talking points. I did see a lot of people say they didn't look as smooth as you would expect Christopher Daniels to look against someone around his size. People that he's been wrestling like that have looked like that his whole career. I think Christopher Daniels, I think that's a part of the story. And I think Christopher Daniels is very talented, and I think he's telling an additional story that he is not confident in his wrestling skills. So I think everything people were seeing was done on purpose.
It's possible. I mean, he is really banged up. You can tell by the way he moves, and he's been around for like a while. So if he has miles on his body. So, and even with those miles, he can wrestle still.
I've never been in what you would call shape, but I've also never thrown my body against the ground for other people's entertainment for 20 years. I am 38, and it hurts me to get up. I can imagine a 49-year-old who throws his body against the ground for entertainment, how his body feels moving around.
Yeah, and he has that broken neck too. So you're right, they are telling a story, and I think they're playing around how he can currently move now. He could still go, but I think it's kind of a smart thing to do, like to kind of be like, okay, I'm having a little trouble moving. I made a botch. And they had the Lucha Bros came out, right?
Yeah, that's what I was about to go to. I was about to go to the ending. Daniels planted Sammy with the STO, but Pentagon standing at the entrance ramp saying, "Hey, amigo, show me if you can," basically referring to either the best moonsault ever or the other moonsault that he does off the springboard moonsault. Daniels was distracted. Sammy connected with a shot to the back of Daniels' head for the victory. Excalibur said the crisis of conscience continues to affect the fallen angel Christopher Daniels. Sammy needs, I don't know what his finisher is. Maybe it's the 450 or the shooting star or whatever. I really believe that he should have done whatever his finisher is to Christopher Daniels, because him just getting kicked in the back of the head and getting pinned looked really, really weak.
Yeah, I don't even remember that. I don't know if the last match he had before this, he did a burning hammer into a go to sleep.
Yeah.
And it looked amazing. That should be his finisher. It's like the coolest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, I am just saying, whatever his finisher is, he should have done it. Because
I don't know what it is.
Yeah, so it looked really weak. Then we had the Dark Order come down the ring. Evil Uno had a microphone and admonished the crowd, and he tells them to boo all he wants, but the AEW faithful are the same ones who's saying you lost a step. He basically offers Christopher Daniels a spot. Christopher Daniels looks like he is going to accept, and then he throws the mask at them, and then, of course, the Dark Order start beating him up. Frankie, Scorpio, and Young Bucks all run down to rescue. Scorpio does this amazing dive where he jumps over the top ropes onto all of the Dark Order, and then one of the Beaver Boys got a double super kick. I don't remember which one.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. They're the Beaver Boys until they give me a reason to differentiate between them. Then the next match was, of course, my match of the night. The Lucha Bros, one of my favorite tag teams, versus the American Nightmare Cody. Oh, wow, that's funny. On the review, they have the American Nightmare Dustin Rhodes and Cody. So
yeah, he can't use his last name still.
Yeah, so I'm just saying they had it backwards. They have Dustin called the American Nightmare. Well, it's the other way around. So Cody and Dustin with Arn Anderson. I like how they're doing the subtle ways that Arn Anderson is getting involved. Like, he, of course, is whispering through the match and everything. But the big thing is Pentagon tries to bring in a chair, and Arn Anderson just knocks it out of his hand. I thought that was really subtle way of him being a face manager. Did you have any thoughts on that?
Just waiting for Arn to turn on him.
That was the whole thing with MJF, and my thing is, they talk about slow burn. Arn Anderson should not turn on him in 2020.
Probably not, no.
Not this year. It's everybody's waiting on it, so you don't give it to us in 2020. I do another podcast with my friend Ryan, and one of my wishes for this year is actually for Cody to turn heel and start his own version of the Horseman. But that has been my pretty much since he has existed, and I found out, a lot of his character is cosplay and like not necessarily cosplay, but you think of Dusty would be his favorite, and he would do a lot of homage to Dusty, but he's a big Ric Flair fan. He's a big Ric Flair guy, so I would love for him to do. I don't know what they would call them, but I would love for him to do his own version of the Horseman.
Who would you want in this faction?
Yeah, that's always been fairly easy for me. I would like, who did I want in the enforcer role? I forgot who I wanted in the enforcer role. I'm like, my brain, I'm drawing blanks right now. At the time, I wanted like Hangman as an enforcer role, but I would love for them to bring in somebody bigger, if possible. But the Revival as the tag team.
Oh.
That's the only way to do it to me.
Oh, you would like a Drew McIntyre as the enforcer?
Dude.
Guy?
Oh, my God. Yes. Drew McIntyre is to me, Drew McIntyre is how everybody felt about Cesaro like 2 years ago. Like, why isn't he like the lead guy in WWE? That's how I feel about Drew McIntyre. I don't see.
He's just huge.
He's huge. He looks exactly like Vince wants him to. He is very attractive. I have no problem saying that. And he has that accent.
Yeah, he has that badass Irish accent.
Oh, my God. He looks like he could beat anybody up.
Yes.
He looks like he could come up and take your girlfriend. I mean, Drew McIntyre, I would push him to the moon.
His Claymore kick is like too devastating. Like if he for me, it's hard for me to like not think of that in wrestling because if you got hit with that, I think you'd die.
Yeah, I was on Monday. I was at Raw, and I found out Drew McIntyre is a face in Oklahoma.
Oh, okay.
No, like he's beating the crap out of No Way Jose, and he is getting cheered the whole time. It was hilarious.
They're not pushing him like that. He should be like champ probably.
Yeah, but we'll go there. But I think Cody should have his own Horseman. I would just love for him to have somebody with the enforcer role, especially like someone. I would like the enforcer role to kind of go to somebody that maybe they bring in, maybe the Anthony Ogogo guy.
Lance Archer.
Lance Archer would work. Just somebody that he could use in that position really well. I just think it would be cool. I mean, this is me Cody cosplaying, me fantasy booking Cody right now. So there you go.
He might be too over though. He's like one of their most over baby faces.
Oh God, he would have to turn on the Elite. It would have to be like a 4-man match with the Elite and Kenny Omega and him, and he would have to turn on them to get him to book him.
Yeah, he would have to cost Kenny like a big match because it would have to be something devastating for people in AEW's fan base. Because when we went there live, man, people were like, they were behind him. Like he's more over than I would have expected, even though he deserved it. It's just
maybe a ladder match where if the Revival or FTR eventually comes to AEW, maybe them and the Bucks are having a ladder match. And at this point, the Bucks aren't the champions yet, and it's for the title.
Mm-hmm.
And Cody comes down there and pushes Matt and Nick off the ladder and let the Revival win. Perfect heel turn.
Okay.
Yeah, but in this match, which a lot of people loved, I did too, because unlike I remember with the Bucks, they tried to tell the story of each trying to work each other's style. They did this in this match, but they did it from the very beginning. The Rhodes were trying to wrestle Pentagon and Phoenix's style, and then halfway through the match, they slowed the match down. And in a shocking turn of events, the Brotherhood beat the Lucha Bros.
It was such a good match too, though. Like Cody came out the bat. It was just back-to-back action. The whole thing was great. I'm always a little worried about Dustin just because he is getting up there in age, and he kind of. I like the segments where he has to tell the other guy to slow down. He has to take like a timeout to catch his breath. But like I was a little worried that he might not be able to keep up with the Lucha Bros. But man, I love the Lucha Bros because I was a big Lucha Underground fan. So I love seeing Phoenix. Pentagon's like one of my top 3 wrestlers of right now. Him, Kenny, and Okada. And it was such a great match. It was there's nothing negative I have to say about it at all.
I agree with that. There is really nothing negative to say about this. I don't think there was anything negative to say about this tag team match. Like I said, Dustin and Cody as the Brotherhood getting the win was a little shocking to me, but I think they're really trying to get over the fact that Arn Anderson's in Cody's corner and that he's almost unbeatable with him in his corner.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't get Shivani in the ring with Cody, Dustin, and Arn. Shivani asked him a question, what do you say to all the challenges MJF put in front of you? Arn Anderson pulled away the mic for Shivani and interrupted. And he said, I don't know who died and made MJF God, and I don't know about that. But one thing I know for sure, we're going to talk about this next week, and we'll get back to you. So our friend Tiffany said, Cody's such a good promo. She does not like anybody talking for Cody.
He doesn't need it.
He doesn't need it. You don't, yeah. See, the thing is, Arn Anderson's my favorite wrestler of all time. He's actually one of my favorite promos of all time also. So I do think it enhances his character because the big thing, the reason I think it enhances his character is because Cody, even on the internet, is emotional and he acts before he thinks.
Mm-hmm.
Arn Anderson is the person there to stop him from doing that. Like Cody would have probably got on the mic and said, hey, you're on. I accept. But Arn Anderson is the one that's going to pull back and say, hey, you got a little leverage here. He may need you more than you need him.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, that all adds up.
Yeah, so I don't know. It is just the spontaneous character of Cody gets balanced out by Arn.
I have no problem with the pairing at all. I think it's fine. It's good. I'll wait it out.
Yeah, but everybody's just waiting for that turn. And it's just like, don't give it to him. Don't give it to him. Alex Marvez was backstage with Memphis legend Lanny Poffo, apparently. Dynamite is the word. Next week, basically, they were letting you know next week or Tuesday on Dark, there's going to be a tribute to the Memphis Legends. And apparently, from the people that were in the crowd, it was a pretty cool display for the Legends. We then get back in. We go back to the ring. MJF was with Wardlow and had a live microphone. Now, I'm going to say, even in wrestling, this doesn't make sense. He basically gave Cody to the count of 10 to come out and face him like a man. The announcer says Cody's not in the building. Cody was just in the ring.
Oh, they also said that that was one of the things they said. That like, oh, I think he might even be back in there icing up, or they said a few things that Cody might be besides ready to come out.
I was just like, maybe they should have done this segment now. Maybe this segment should have happened after the 6-man match, but before the main event. But then there would have been 2 talking segments in a row. I get them. They were in kind of a sticky situation. There wasn't really a good spot for this segment. But right after Cody came out, I would have rather had it where, MJF says to the count of 10. And again, this is the benefit of hindsight being 2020. But MJF say come out to the count of 10. You get a video of Cody in the back trying to come out and Arn stopping him. And that's it.
Yeah, that would have been good. I'll tell you, man. This segment I love. So I wasn't even thinking critically about it, but yeah, that would have added to what you were saying about Arn being the rational part, rational element that Cody's missing.
Yeah, even if they bring it up next week and they say, yeah, Cody tried to come out, Arn stopped him, whatever.
And they can do that.
Yeah, they could, but the thing is, I am on live chat. And I'm in the AEW Discord and I'm on Twitter. So I see a lot of both sides. There's no
Yeah.
choice. So I see a lot of the complaints why the good stuff is going on. So I do address them a lot on this show.
Gotcha.
So DDP comes out. MJF gives a count of 10. DDP comes out. MJF basically tells him that the only way the Butcher and the Blade come out and with DDP, and he told him the only way he's basically getting out this ring without being harmed is kissing the ring. Diamond Dallas Page goes on to say people have asked him was he coming back for one more match, and he was, he's excited. He then puts over everything, DDP Yoga, Instagram, Twitter, because DDP is great. So after they give him the options, MJF basically said he's going to send him to hospice and then he's going to bang one of his daughters.
Yes.
He
said it's going to end with and he let the crowd do it.
Yes, he said he's going to take his diamond daughters into the room, and there's only one way it's going to end. It's going to end with a bang. DDP hears enough. He dishes out, and this is me being critical, some of the slowest diamond cutters I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
And it's just like he's a 60-year-old man, don't get me wrong. But it's just like, when you want to do the whole idea of this is wrestling type thing, why, when he's diamond cuttering the other guys, do the other guys wait for him to diamond cut him? It's wrestling. You don't ask those questions. You just let them happen. It's like in an action movie where there's 10 on 1 and they all fight the guy one at a time. It's like, why didn't you all just rush him? It's kind of question. Don't ask those questions. He dished out the diamond cutters. He did all the famous reversals that I loved. The one where he tries to get slammed and then reverses it. That was the one thing I loved about the diamond cutter. I loved many things, I say, but one of the things I especially loved about it is that it did come out of anywhere, and you had to pay attention to all of Diamond Dallas Page's matches. You had to pay attention to the whole match because he could reverse the diamond cutter out of anywhere. I wish other wrestlers would do something like that now these days because, when you get to 15 matches that are going to be 30 minutes, you don't pay attention to the first 15 minutes because, it's kind of just going to end when it ends. But Diamond Dallas Page, it wasn't like that. You could be 6.5 minutes into a championship match. He catches the cutter and it's over. But in the end... Cody's starting to use
a cutter too?
Huh?
Cody's starting to use a cutter too.
Yeah, he's using that Will Ospreay top rope cutter. He was
That's
doing
awesome.
The second rope one, and then they call it the Cody cutter. Bang. And so he hits DDP with a low blow. MJF looked at Cameron. Cody, what's about to happen to your mentor? That's on you. Before anything could happen, QT Marshall and Dustin ran out to the top to attack DDP before he was permanently injured. Okay, then we get the 6-man tag. Jurassic Express, Luchasaurus, Jungle Boy, and the hometown boy, Marco Stunt. Apparently he was from 20 miles away from South Haven, Mississippi, versus the best friends, Chuck Taylor, Trent, and Orange Cassidy. I did not know Marco Stunt was from this area because I was really wondering why this match was happening. I was like, they don't really have a beef or anything, so I was just wondering why it was happening. It was a way to get Mark on TV, which I have no problem with. I think you should definitely play to the home crowd. I thought this was super entertaining. I thought people just say it was just a match. I thought it was super fun.
I rewatched it this morning because I liked it so much. It was a great match.
Yeah, Marco is one of those people. He's really, really small.
Yeah.
So it either bothers you or it doesn't.
Well, you're always going to have a Spike Dudley.
Yeah. No.
Always a role for that.
No, he makes Spike Dudley look like 6'7".
True. Yeah. I mean, you're always going to have a guy that's like the shortest and the guy you're going to who is Zach Gowen, the guy with one leg. Like, there's always a role. They have the guy with no legs in their gimmick. You have a purpose for those guys. They serve a role.
And Hornswoggle played a role in the WWE forever. I don't, like I said, it in a 6-man category, a 6-man situation where he's getting a bunch of high spots, Marco Stunt does not bother me at all.
Yeah.
I think if he's ever in a one-on-one match, he should just get beat up.
Yes.
Kind of thing. But in a 6-man where he just makes the hot tag, does a bunch of hot spots, it doesn't bother me. He did a cool Canadian Destroyer. I've heard complaints online, again, that there's too many Canadian Destroyers in AEW. And to that point, Old Man Floyd says, I completely agree.
Yeah, me too.
When I first saw the Canadian Destroyer, I thought it was the coolest move ever, and I thought no one should ever get up from it. It is literally thrown around like an arm drag.
I agree. I completely agree on that. Like, there are certain moves in wrestling, and even though I'm a huge fan of the Best Friends, they're usually very guilty of like doing awesome finishers that people shouldn't kick out of, that people will kick out of. Like they do that. What is it? They do like that reverse outsider's edge into a cutter. That should kill you. Like the guy shouldn't be on TV for like a couple weeks. The Canadian Destroyers, sometimes they're kind of hard to believe because the physics don't make sense to me sometimes, how people get them off. And people do it too much, and you shouldn't be able to move after. Like pile drivers used to like break people's necks, like in storyline. When you get hit with a Canadian Destroyer, I don't think you should be able to move.
Yeah,
for a little bit.
Yeah, and it was really obvious on Marco's one on Trent that it was all Trent.
Yes,
because Marco was literally dangling from him, and then Trent just does a backflip. I was like, I have no problem with that, whatever. Because like I said, I have no problem with Marco's stunt, but some people that care about that shit, I could see them. I actually am validating your criticism. And as far as the Canadian Destroyer, it's one of those things. It's not going away. I just wish it would be used used in more, special situations.
It should be like the One-Winged Angel. You get hit with it, you're done. Like I don't like it in NXT when people kick out of Adam Cole's Canadian Destroyer. What's he call it? The Panama Sunrise.
Yeah.
I've watched a few of their takeovers, and people kick out of it, and it drives me crazy because, one, it makes us look. That's his finish. So stop.
His finish is the knee to the back of the head,
which is good, but like maybe I just don't like people kicking out of it. I just think like it's a pile driver with extra momentum. It's like Suzuki does the Gotch pile driver. If you get hit with that, you die. Like to the point where people don't even take it. Like they have to get out of it.
Yes, That's, again, I try not to compare anything to New Japan because it's such a superior in-ring product, but finishers matter in New Japan. The weakest finisher in New Japan is the world champions clothesline, and it's really put over the fact that it's so weak is because he's put it on so many people. People have just gotten used to taking it.
Yes,
it's like the Rainmaker. You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah. So I don't know.
You have to do it multiple times, and it's fine to have finishers like that too, because it's like, okay, were you watching Ring of Honor when Chris Hero was there? Like he would do his shining elbows, and like he would do it right out the bat, and maybe it takes 6 or 7. Sometimes maybe it takes only 2. Maybe it just takes 1. It's a flash finisher, and that's fine too. But James got me into Stardom. And the one thing I like about Joshi is that like girls will win from just like a fisherman suplex or just a clothesline because it looks like it should put you out, so it does.
Yeah,
and it can come out of nowhere.
Yeah, it's just the build of New Japan's matches are closer, are a good mix of old school and new school. But to me, it's like if I had a finisher, if I was a professional wrestler living in that imaginary world, if I had a finisher that everybody kicked out of, that would no longer be my finisher.
It's done.
I'm gonna figure something out because it's not a finisher if it doesn't finish anyone.
And that's probably my only like real criticism of AEW. Sometimes it is too flippy, where it's like you can tell they're helping each other out with moves, and it does like in 6-man tags. I don't care. It's all hot spots. There's no like you said earlier. There's no trios title, so it's do whatever you want, get yourself over. But sometimes I want a little bit like I'm doing this because it's going to take you out. I'm not doing it just because it looks cool to do.
All right, the last. Well, it's not even a match. The main event was Chris Jericho out with the Spanish God Sammy Guevara and the big hurt Jake Hager. And I'm just going to go through this whole review because a lot of people thought this was classic. I personally have one thing that I would have changed, but because I always do. The Inner Circle waited for Jon Moxley's answer to proposal. They had a table set up with some bubbly, and I had a friend that sent me. He's like, once I saw all the bubbly, I knew it wasn't going to end correct. It wasn't going to end right for Jericho. Moxley music hits. He walks down. The car is gassed up and ready to go, John. This is it. Will you be part of the Inner Circle? John then says, you offered me a car, money, and 49% ownership of Inner Circle, but I can't be bought. I came to run roughshod on pro wrestling. That's why my answer is yes. There's more dominant force in AEW than the Inner Circle. I want to stand with them. I believe in my heart that Chris Jericho is the greatest of all time. There's only one thing left. Pop open a bottle of the Butley. Mox unzips his jacket. You see an Inner Circle shirt. He hugged everyone, which was Jericho, Sammy G, and Jack Hager. Proud and Powerful was not there. Actually, that made sense to me because of what was about to happen. I think you forgot something, Chris. Chris Jericho handed over the keys to a nearly priceless sports car he promised Moxley. Chris, my friend, I was just kidding. I would never join the Inner Circle. You have nothing that I want. Mox pointed at Jericho's world champion title and continued, except for that. Moxley smashed the champagne bottles. Then Moxley delivered a paradigm shift to Sammy G. Then won to Jericho. Moxley stormed out of the ring, ripping off his Inner Circle t-shirt and clutching the keys to his new car. That was the end of it. What did you think of that ending?
My favorite quote that I've been saying in the group chat has been, I was just kidding, Chris. I would never join the Inner Circle. It's a stupid group. Because it's such a short and simple line, but it's hilarious. I popped huge when he said that because no one's called their group stupid. He's just like, your group's stupid. Like you don't normally hear faction wars where people go like, yeah, your group's dumb.
Yeah.
I thought it was hilarious.
Yes. My only thing is I know the next 2 weeks are going to be kind of iffy weeks, but weird weeks anyway. I wish they would have made us to go to next week before you turned on them.
They could have done that. They kind of already had us waiting like a week or two, though.
No, but that's what I'm saying. He already said yes. I wanted everybody to talk for a week like he's in the Inner Circle. I wanted us all to be on the hook, and then he betrayed him. But
I would have been fine with it.
I'm a slow burn person. I am a make you wait person.
You know what they could have done?
What?
They could have had him drive up to the show with them all in his new car.
Yes. Apparently this shot Khan's car.
That's great.
Yes. Yeah. He's if y'all didn't know this, he's super rich.
Just a little bit.
He's like he's that kind of rich that I don't even imagine. Like
it's not real. At a certain point, after a certain point, it's like, yeah, okay, you want everything.
To me, if I had $1 million in the bank, to me, I'm rich beyond any means. There's no way I could ever spend that. That dude has 1,000 of those 4 times over. I'm like, dude, like no, yeah, he's so rich he can let them use $1 million car as a prop. Just saying, he's that rich. He could just buy another one. But
what was it, $750,000?
Yes, and anybody that's saying it's not $1,750,000, $750,000 might as well be $10 million in my mind because I'm never gonna have that to spend on a car.
Me either. No.
Yeah, it's just like, no, it might as well be $1 million. But yeah, it ended. Everyone loved it. The world loved it. To a lot of people, it saved the episode of Dynamite, which was one of the weakest episodes because of that women's segment. Literally, when I was asking people, I am one of those people, I don't mind criticism of AEW. I think it's a wrestling company, even though I love it. I think criticism is good. People need to criticize it. That inspires people to get better, right? I need people to criticize AEW. But literally, when they were talking about this being one of the weakest episodes, the only thing that stuck out was the Chris Statlander and Rio match. That was the only thing they didn't like. And I'm like, this is weird. This might be my twist on everything, my weird twist on everything. But I ask, if you watch a 2-hour show and there's only one segment that you like, that still seems like a really good show.
Well, they're wrong for multiple reasons because, like you said, you can have one segment. Let's say it's at the end of the show and it just ruins the whole show for you. That is possible. This wasn't that though. This wasn't at the end of the show. It didn't. The other storylines weren't dependent upon it. It was its own thing. And yeah, I didn't like it, but it was one segment. That was like the only thing. The other matches were amazing. Yeah. The ones we talked about, they were great.
Yeah, it was they were.
The other story segments were hilarious. Were great. I love the Mox thing. Like, if you say that ruined the whole show for you, like there's a guy on YouTube I follow, Cosmonaut, and he had a whole YouTube video about criticism and people's opinions. And everyone has an opinion, and everyone's opinion is justified, except if your opinion is funded based on misinformation or bad faith. You're entitled to your opinion, but your opinion can be wrong if it's based upon incorrect facts or, biases and just ingenuity. Like if you're just, in bad faith. And if you say the whole show was ruined because of that, your opinion is invalid to me because it's based on incorrect information. The whole show was not based upon Brandy Rhodes' whole segment. Like you said, it's a lower card act. That's like saying the Librarians ruined the show for you. That's like saying Sean Spears match or a Joey Janela match ruined it for you. Like you're wrong. Like or a Brandon Cutler match ruined it for you. Come on. It's the whole show does. That's not like the whole thing the show is based around. That's wrong.
That is exactly the point I was making. It's just like you taking the second match on a card and saying that your whole opinion of the show was based on the second match of a card. And I just I watched, wrestling, and I just don't see how that's possible. I try not to, be like, try not to be super judgmental or anything, but it's just like, so you enjoyed all the rest of the show. You thought everything was great, but the second match of the card just made you hate it. And it's
to give an example, you remember when Becky Lynch they had like a whole episode of Raw or SmackDown or whatever, where they were trying to get her to apologize to the McMahons or something.
Yeah. And
that was the whole background story that the whole show was kind of, they had other things in there, but that was the main focus. And then she eventually apologized. If you say that one segment ruined the show for me, that's justifiable because that is what it was revolving around. If this segment was in a bubble, you know what I mean? It's like a B story or even a C story on a TV show. If the not the latest Star Wars, but the previous one, the casino scene that everyone hates. If that's the only part you didn't like and that ruined the whole movie for you, that's kind of weird. But if you didn't like the whole story, if you didn't like Luke Skywalker, if you didn't like what they did with him, if you don't like Kylo, if you don't like Rey, okay, you don't like the movie.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, but if you only like one segment that's isolated and that ruins the whole thing for you, and it's like, I don't know, it's not even a quarter of the show either, right? That's like an eighth of the whole show. Like, that's kind of, I don't trust your opinion anymore, if that's what you say.
Yeah, and that's what I'm like. It's just, and, Cody said he did take something from Eric Bischoff. His goal was to make an AEW a smorgasbord or a buffet. You might not like everything, but there's hopefully something on the show that connected with you. That is the goal. But sometimes we live in such an all or nothing world that if you don't like one thing on it, it's like, oh man, I went to have Thanksgiving dinner. Man, that turkey was amazing. Best turkey I ever had. You know, the dressing was amazing. The cranberry sauce was amazing. But man, they had had those damn onions in the green bean casserole. The whole meal was crap because of that.
Yeah, I don't get that.
I don't get that. I'm like, you still had really good food. But overall, I gave this, if I'm providing the letter grade, I gave this episode of Dynamite a B. It was a solid B to me, It was a good show. It wasn't great. It didn't blow me out the water. But it was a good show. In the women's segment, I can honestly say, based on my letter B, did not bother me at all. I just thought it was a regular heel getting revenge segment. I didn't think it was bad. Maybe my opinion is, I am a positive person, but I didn't think it was bad at all. Did it connect with me? Did it make me feel? Not really. Because as soon as Brandy came out, I tweeted, I don't think this match is going to end without Brandy interference. And then it didn't, because it's wrestling. Brandy wasn't out there to watch a clean match. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think I was a little bit harsher on that segment, but I would still grade the whole show like a B plus. I loved the things I loved about it. I loved.
Yes.
Like they were great. I mean, I liked Orange Cassidy. He's my guy and best friend. So like I was all about that. I love the mock segment. I love the Brotherhood. I loved what was the opening tag match. That was a loaded show for me. You know what I mean?
It was a really good show. I really did. They set it up to be loaded. And like I said, I do think a lot of the hardcore wrestling fans do hold AEW to New Japan standard, and they've never said they were going to be New Japan. They never said they were. They've taken a lot, but they've never said they were going to be New Japan. So it's just like the whole idea of a clean finish is really not an American concept that we get a lot. We don't get a lot of clean finishes in wrestling. We just don't.
They give us a lot too. They give us a lot of them.
They do. They do give us a lot. But I'm just saying, again, this was a story being told. It's going to be told over the next few months. Well, shit, they got a month and a half before they have to have a women's title match. So you're going to at least get a few more weeks of this of this story. I just read that Road to Miami comes out this Monday. So make sure you are subscribed to AEW, All Elite Wrestling, on YouTube, so you can get that. And we're gonna just do a little quick preview of next week. Tiffany put this out, so matches they announced for next week. First, they announced Cody's gonna respond to MJF on the 15th. Then we get a triple threat tag team match. Winning tag team will receive a World Tag Team Championship match with SCU. We got the Young Bucks versus Hangman and Omega versus Santana and Ortiz versus the Best Friends.
Oh.
So that's good.
Okay, well, we know who's taking the fall.
What, the Best Friends?
Yeah. Unless they do a Kenny and Hangman twist, but I think it's too early for that.
I ask, why are the Bucks in this match? They just lost to SCU. They shouldn't be getting another chance at a title shot. To me.
Didn't they beat Proud and Powerful though recently too though?
Did they? Yes.
Chris Warren, they beat them recently.
Yeah, they beat them to get the title shot against SCU, which they lost.
Oh, okay. I'm misremembering. I don't know then.
Yeah, so like, why is the Bucks even in this match? I mean, I know they're the Bucks, but it's like you just had a title shot. So back in the line, bros. So, and then, and let me tell you, and then this personal thing, it warms the cockles of my soul. Everyone knows how big of a Cody fan I am, right? But again, Arn Anderson is my favorite wrestler of all time. So you have my favorite wrestler of all time managing my current favorite wrestler. I don't think it could get better than that for me. And then you got this like promo picture with Cody and then Arn in the background. It's just like, yeah, that's just it's like wrestling porn to me. That's just amazing. Like it's just the greatest thing ever. Every time I see it, I get a big ass shit eating grin on my face because it just makes me so happy. It's like I would have never even like thought of that. It's like, hey, who would you like to manage Cody? Arn, but that's never gonna fucking happen because Cody doesn't need a manager.
Doesn't know.
Yeah, he really doesn't need a manager, but still, I'll take it. Then we get the match. I'm like, honestly, the most. I don't think you could have announced a match that made me more excited. You get the Bastard Pac versus Darby Allin.
Yo, yes, I'm so excited for that one. That's gonna be good.
Please give them 20 minutes. Please try to make it commercial free. They will kill it.
Yes, I'm big on Darby. He's won me over.
And then the Sammy Guevara Boomer Beatdown Tour takes a pause this week as he wrestles against Jon Moxley. So he's probably taking a paradigm shift.
Probably one or two.
And at least one or two. Then we have a women's tag team match. We talked about this earlier. It'll be Chris Statlander and Hikaru Shida. Or actually, it's just Shida. I guess they got rid of the Hikaru. Just to let you know, she's pretty good follow on Twitter. She did a cover of a Bruno Mars song while playing the piano. It was pretty good. She's got a pretty good voice. Then we had Awesome Kong and Mel with Brandy Rose, the Nightmare Collective. A lot of people believe the fate of the Nightmare Collective is based on Mel's performance.
I'm kind of there a little bit.
Yes, I mean, I've seen that, and I heard that from you. That's why I wanted to bring that up. So we'll see there. And then we get MJF, the Butcher, and the motherfucking Blade with the Bunny in their corner versus DDP, Dustin Rhodes, and QT Marshall. I love this because this is so old school territory booking. They are keeping Cody and MJF away from each other.
Do you know? I wasn't watching Impact when Allie was there, but is the Bunny thing from her past? And
the Bunny she was a more light character. It was the Demon and the Bunny. The Demon was Rosemary, and the Bunny, of course, was Allie. And they were a polar opposite tag team. Like the Demon was the dark side, Bunny was the light. Towards the end of her run in Impact, the Bunny went dark, and she started, hanging with Su Young, and then she kind of went back to the light and then died. She got stabbed in the chest and died.
What?
on the show. So
okay,
the Dark Bunny is kind of the variation of that second version of the Bunny.
Okay,
but I think she's more of a biker bunny now than a.
Oh.
She's more of a biker bunny than a dark bunny. She's not evil. Like someone pointed out, they're like an old Western group. The Butcher and the Blade. It's like they're a Western duo. And
I like their look.
Yeah, I like their look too. I just try to. It was like when people's like, "Man, it's kind of a dark character." I'm like, really, it's not. It's completely different. They're for hire hitman. They're for hire thugs. They're to me, it's a different vibe than any type of spookiness. They'll just gang. They'll just take money to beat you up. They don't really care who they work for as long as you pay them, which is very realistic. So that is the preview for next week. Looks like a pretty stacked episode of Dynamite. You excited for it?
Yeah, this one looks really good. Like I'm wondering if they're having Cody win with Arn in his corner, but I wasn't on the same page as these people, but people were complaining that the Blade and the Butcher were losing too early from one match. I kind of don't want them to lose this match. And also MJF kind of has to win too.
No, MJF needs to get the pin in this match. So I think
yes.
I think MJF is going to pin QT.
Okay, yeah, I could see that. Okay,
But
that makes sense.
yeah, I don't have a problem with it because the Butcher and the Blade are henchmen. MJF is the big. If you're thinking in video game terms, MJF is the big boss. MJF is
Yeah,
Shredder. Butcher and the Blade are Bebop and Rocksteady. You know, they're there
yeah,
to lose. So
I can see that. I want them to have a better finisher though. I don't like their finisher.
it's an elevated. What is it? Elevated like.
The suplex into like a
Oh
gut.
yeah. It's basically Cedric Alexander's move with two people.
Yeah, and the one guy who's the one that wears the mask when he comes out. He wears the leather coat. He's not the guy with the monocle.
The
But
Blade. It's the Blade.
the blade, like the way he does it, he kind of just has his feet down a little. Like you can tell they're not really taking it when he does it.
Yeah, I can see that.
That's the part I don't like.
I can see that. And again, when you can look at one guy that does the move by himself and it looks better, it's
Yes.
like even makes your move look worse. You know?
Hmm.
Yeah. So I completely understand. I would like them to switch that up a little bit if they want to. But yeah, we got a good preview. It's in Miami, home of the Miami Hurricanes, the team I hate the most, second most in the world. So I'm a Florida State fan, so I hate Miami. But yeah, I guess that city can have something. I guess, but no, like it's funny because I hate the college Miami University because I'm a Florida State fan. But Miami has always been one of those cities that is on my kind of list of cities I want to spend time in.
Hmm.
I'm just waiting for like there to be a big wrestling event there, like WrestleMania or something, because that's the only reason. Only reason I travel is wrestling. Like
Makes sense.
the only reason I travel is wrestling. But that is it. We're caught up. We got an episode of Road to Miami coming out Monday. Tickets to Utah and Denver went on sale this week. Went on sale Friday. So if you are happening to listen and you are from the Salt Lake City or Denver area, make sure you pick up the tickets. They didn't announce a sellout, so I'm pretty sure it didn't sell out. And yeah, we're excited. We're excited for what's coming up next. Greg, I'd like to thank you for joining me this week. You want to give your plugs, your socials?
Nothing really to plug except for the Social Suplex website. That's mainly what I've been working on with you guys. I'm trying to be a little bit more, trying to provide a little bit more content than I have in a while, but hoping that'll change this year. That's all I have to plug.
All right. Also, I want to let you know that on Alicia Atoot's blog, it's called, I guess it's on Twitter, on her YouTube page. I guess, what's it called? Ambi? Yeah, Ambi on her YouTube page. She actually did have a catching up with Chris Statlander. So she's not wearing makeup or acting like an alien. So if you want to see her in her normal, everyday self, you can check out that YouTube. Yeah, it's been a big week for. It seems like every week's kind of a big week at AEW, and I'm going to throw this out there because I always do. AEW had 927,000 viewers this week. The biggest bump on the show was doing the Chris Statlander and Rio match, and they did not lose it doing the after part with Brandy, which shocked the hell out of me. Right? That's weird, right? You know.
I just think people were upset, but people didn't stop watching.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Tony Khan sent out a message this week on Twitter thanking them all for a big-time rating success. It carried over from the 1st to the 8th. Their numbers, staying over the 900,000 mark. I think the next 2 weeks will be kind of weird because I believe next week is live, but I believe because it's 2 weeks of Bash and Beach, I don't think the week after is live. So you're going to get a taped episode of Dynamite versus, the regular episode of NXT. Don't know how that's going to work out. We'll find out. I still retweet the ratings every week, but honestly, we don't really break them down because, it doesn't matter to me as long as they're putting on a good show. That's all that matters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'd like to thank you. Of course, I'm at Floyd Johnson Jr. on Twitter. I'd rather you just follow the show because I do tweet from the show more than I tweet from my regular account. That's at AT Elite Pod on Twitter. You can hit us up at allthingselitepod@gmail.com for any questions. I'd like to thank you again, Greg, for joining me this week. I don't mind doing the show by myself, as I said, but it is a lot better when I have someone with me. And most importantly, you are not what I would call an AEW shill. So it was, like me, which I have no problem being. I carry it. I carried it like a badge of honor. I carry my fandom like a badge of honor. But you are more of in the middle guy. So it was great to get a more opinion that was unbiased.
Well, thanks for having me on. I had a great time. I am unbiased, I think, but I really do like AEW. So,
yeah, and you know what? You do have a positive way of looking at things. I saw that today, so you definitely fit into this show.
Good.
All right. Well, hey, thanks everybody. We'll have the show up tonight. It is a little later than it usually is, but I'd like to thank you all for listening, sticking with us. Make sure you are leaving us ratings and reviews. If I suck or if I talk too much, please let me know because I'm not going to change, but I still want to know what you think. But remember, whether it's homework or school, always do your best to be elite.